I'm Michelle, and this is where we explore the intelligence beneath your symptoms, from subconscious imprints to emotional memory, so you can stop fighting your body, start understanding it, and allow healing to unfold. We've been trained to see symptoms as malfunctions, headaches, fatigue, weight gain, inflammation, hormonal shifts, right? And don't get me wrong, these are not comfortable things to experience. But the body is not creating these malfunctions without a reason. The body does not create pain and discomfort for no reason. Instead, it creates responses. These responses are protective to your system. Your nervous system only does what it believes increases survival. Your subconscious mind only does what it believes will increase survival. Not what aligns with your goals, not what aligns with your timeline, but what actually aligns with safety. And there's an African proverb. It says, the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. Your body remembers what your mind moves past. Your subconscious remembers what your mind, conscious mind, moved past. So when a symptom appears, is not random. It's a strategy. It's a strategic message for you. The question isn't how do I get rid of this? The question is what is this symptom protecting? What is this message that is being sent? I worked with a woman whose cycle was extremely heavy and irregular. She was 40 and she really wanted to conceive. And every month she was feeling like this pressure, right? Every month felt like a delay and every month was amplified. She was adjusting her food. She was supporting her hormones, optimizing her supplements, right? And some things would sometimes just slightly improve, but then, her heavy cycle would return. And every time it returned, she felt like she was running out of time. So she came to me, and on paper, it looked hormonal, right? But underneath, it was really protective. Her system was carrying an imprint around not being fast enough. Think about that, right? So she was trying to conceive at 40. Society says that's too old, right? And so she was feeling this time pressure everywhere, all of the time. Okay? She's feeling this internal urgency. So her body wasn't malfunctioning. It was just trying to protect her with this, limiting belief that was, I'm 40. I'm too old, right? So her body was bracing for that and saying, wait a minute. No, you're saying this is not safe. So when we were able to decode that imprint, not by forcing her cycle, not by chasing her lab numbers, right? But increasing safety in her system, then her pattern shifted, right? Her cycle actually started to regulate. And it wasn't because we overrode the message. It was because we helped the subconscious mind see that the protection was no longer necessary. So this didn't happen by coincidence. There's a method, a process, right? But this is the physiology that really no doctor will acknowledge or discuss. Okay. So there was a season in my own life where symptoms really were surfacing during uncertainty, and it was difficult, right? Muscle weakness, burning sensations, brain fog. I thought I was having an onset of an autoimmune condition or, something more significant. But at that time, I didn't really know what was happening. And so, I had this temptation to keep panicking, right? It was like boiling up anxiety within my body of like, why are these symptoms happening? Right? Because every time the symptoms came up, then I started to feel more anxious. And then that heightened the symptoms. So, in my mind, I was trying to fight it, trying to control, like, what's going on? I need to change this. And don't get me wrong, right? There are moments that, even days where just caught in that cycle of anxiety of feeling like, what is this? Why is this here? This is going to turn into something terrible. But I started to realize something through the own work that I've done with clients. And it was that I can't really control everything, right? I could, though, however, control whether I was feeling fear around the symptoms or as to whether or not it was creating safety, right? Choosing the reality that I wanted to shift into, okay? And so when I began intentionally increasing the safety, right? And at moments it was difficult, but creating this safety emotionally, spiritually, physically, in my mindset, right? My system started responding. The symptoms started to resolve, right? Not overnight, but it really made a significant difference because the body starts to release and heal when it no longer feels threatened. So when you're in a state of fear and fearfulness, the body feels threatened. Like, what are we running from? What are we fighting for? What is happening? Right? And so that experience really solidified this truth for me. This is a very important truth. Symptoms are not sabotage. They are almost always protective responses within our body from our subconscious mind, even when you might have a clear medical explanation. Okay? So imagine your symptom, right? Your symptom is a protector and it's standing at a doorway. The protector didn't just show up randomly. The protector is there because at some point something felt unsafe. If you were to try to shove past the protector in the doorway, right, it's going to stop you. It's going to tighten. And if you shame it, go away, it's going to reinforce. No, I'm here to protect you. I'm here to protect you. Right? But if you ask, what are you protecting? Then that posture can change. And there's a moment in scripture where Peter tries to protect Jesus during his arrest, and he draws a sword and he cuts off a soldier's ear. And in that moment, his instinct was defense, right? But Jesus tells him, put the sword away, and then restores what was damaged. That protection was instinctive, but this is a message that force isn't always the solution. Your body protects instinctively, biologically, subconsciously. And healing really requires that understanding. So when you start to address what that protector is actually guarding, then the body can step down naturally, the subconscious mind can step down naturally, and then healing can unfold. So instead of asking, how do I get rid of this symptom or set of symptoms or issue with my health? I want you to ask, what would feel unsafe if this disappeared? What would feel unsafe if this disappeared? If this symptom went away, what does that mean I need to do in my life? What does that mean? Where does that mean I need to show up? Okay? What would feel unsafe if this set of symptoms disappeared? What does that mean I now have to do with my life? What does that mean I now have to show up? Where am I showing up? Okay? What would feel unsafe if this issue with my health went away? So if this issue with my health disappeared, what does that mean about me and where I have to show up in my life? What is the next step that I would have to do? Okay? And then if you start to go there in your mind and you're like, oh, wow, right? If I healed from this, that means I have to go back to working 60 hours a week. Like, lack of sleep, waking up early, doing all the things, okay? And then you start feeling like, oh wow, that doesn't feel great, right? Your body's protecting you. Your body is saying, yeah, we don't want to go do that again. That wasn't fun. We don't want that, right? So if you start to see this and you start to see, like, if your fatigue lifted, would you be overextending yourself again in your life? Okay. If your cycle regulated, well, now am I feeling vulnerable? Am I afraid to give birth? Am I afraid that my pregnancy wouldn't be healthy? Am I afraid that, you know, something not great was going to come out of this situation if I had a regular cycle? Right? Are people going to say things about me? I'm going to be judged. Right? So if those things were to resolve, is there anything around that that sort of makes you feel like unsafe or like there's a lot of work to be done if that happens? Okay. These aren't surface questions. I encourage you to sit down and really journal on this and think about it. And sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes you can think about it for a second and be like, oh my gosh, that's true. Right? If I start to feel better, then that means we're gonna have to do this, this, and this. And to your body right now, it definitely feels like exhausting. To your mind, it feels exhausting. Okay. So these questions are not really surface questions. They really are root questions and helping you get into the root of what's going on in your subconscious and in your body and in your mind. Okay. So when you can find that root by using these root questions, you can help to change the outcomes in your health. And you can help to change the outcomes of the symptoms that keep showing up, of the dis-eases in your body. Okay. So when you can increase that safety, um, that symptom is no longer necessary. The subconscious can say, oh, all right, you got this. Okay. You got this. You know how you're going to show up now, right? You're going to set boundaries. You're going to not do that thing. You're going to, allow rest for yourself. Okay. Just depending on the scenario or situation, right? This is going to be different for everyone. But this truly is the foundation of the work that I do. We don't sit and fight symptoms. We actually sit and we decode. We decode what is the protection? What is the message? What is the subconscious imprint? What are the emotional imprints? Okay? What is the body holding on to? And sometimes this is tiered. There might be a foundational imprint that's happening at the subconscious level, but then there could be additional miniature sort of emotional imprints that then are also kind of blocking the way. And so if we can identify what the body is believing or the subconscious is believing it has to hold based on past traumas, based on past experiences in your life, it could even be something that just recently happened and then the symptoms show up, right? Even if you like consciously look back and you say, well, that wasn't really a trauma, or, oh, that wasn't really anything. I cried and I'm over it now, right? Maybe to you consciously, it didn't really mean much, but to your subconscious mind, it really meant everything, right? And so your subconscious is saying, we need to go back to this. All right. And if you're not going to go back to this without help, then I'm going to throw in this symptom. I'm going to throw in this scenario into your body. And now you have to heal it. Right. So we increase that safety at that layer of the subconscious mind of the body. And then when that protection is no longer required, then the body can start to recalibrate and the body can start to heal. A lot of times it can happen subtly. Sometimes it happens steadily, but it's an intelligent process. It's a biological process that takes place once we can create this safety within the subconscious mind, right? So if you feel like you've been at war with your body, if you feel like you've been at war with your thoughts, I want you to consider that you might be fighting the very thing that's attempting to protect you. Okay? And I know we're not really taught to think of it this way, but if you think of it this way, then you realize protectors, the things that are protecting you, are not going to respond to force. They're not going to respond to hustle, adding more supplements, waking up early, doing all these things that you think that you should be doing to get these symptoms to go away. There's really a root to it in your subconscious mind. And you can do all those things, but if you don't understand what the protection is there for to begin with, then you cannot heal it. Right? So these protectors aren't going to respond to this more doing, more force. They respond to you understanding. Okay? So if this perspective really shifted something for you, I want you to subscribe. Okay? I want this message out there for more people, because the more we understand how our bodies actually work, right? The less fear there is around the symptoms, the less force there is. The more that people can start to partnership with their body and replace that fear with, resolve, fear with healing. Okay. Get rid of the panic around, these symptoms are showing up. This means this, or I'm going to have this happen, or this is going to happen. Right. So when you subscribe here, when you comment, when you share this message with your friend, you're helping move the healing out of fear and into understanding for more and more people, not just for yourself. Right. And that ripple matters at the collective level. Okay. So today, what I want you to do is I want you to shift the question. Finish this episode by shifting the question in your mind. Not why is this happening, or what does this mean is going to happen? I want you to instead think, what is this protecting? What is this keeping me safe